Hey everybody, Miss Limer here to talk about graphing today. So graphing is something that you have done in all of your grade levels. In fact, I observed a kindergarten classroom at the very beginning of the year and they were even doing graphing. So you have been doing graphing for your entire school career. Now each year, graphing has gotten a little bit more difficult. In third grade, you are expected to know 4 types of graphs and you have to be able to use those graphs to answer questions. Okay, so the 4 types of graphs that we're going to talk about today are frequency tables, pictographs, bar graphs, and dot plots. And you have to be able to make and use all of those in order to answer questions. So we're going to take a look at our anchor chart. The first type of graph we're going to talk about is a frequency table. And this graph or chart is most useful when you're collecting data. Maybe you're taking a survey and you want to know how many people like a certain topic in school. So that's exactly what I did. I asked everybody in my survey if they liked math, science, social studies, language arts, or writing. Okay, a frequency table shows tallies and a total, also called a frequency, how often that was voted for. So all of it together is called data. You're collecting data when you make a frequency table or any of the graphs. Okay, so 6 people voted for math, so I wrote my frequency or my total as 6. 9 people voted for science, so I wrote my frequency as 9. 1 person voted for social studies, so I wrote my frequency as 1. And 3 people voted for language arts, so I wrote my frequency as 3. 1 person voted for writing, so my frequency was 1. In order to read a frequency table, you have to have both the tallies and the totals. Now, if you just have a tallies, that's called a tally chart, and that's more of a 2nd grade skill. Once we're in 3rd grade, we add that total or that frequency to the side, and it becomes a frequency table. So that's our first type of graph. Our second type of graph is one that should look familiar to you because you've done this type of graph in 2nd grade. It's called a pictograph. And just like the name sounds like, it has pictures. It's made using pictures. So in this one, I took my same data from the first graph from my survey about your favorite subject, and I just used pictures to convey that information for you. So the most important thing about pictographs is that you have to look at the key, because we all know that tallies are worth 1. So for every 1 tally, it's worth 1. But in a pictograph, the pictures could mean any number that you want it to mean. So in this pictograph, each smiley face means 1 vote. So that's pretty simple. But in other pictographs, each smiley face could mean 2 votes. And then half of the smiley face could mean 1 vote. So you've got to be super, super careful and always look at your key so that you know what you're counting by. So for math, I drew my 6 smiley faces because I had 6 votes for math, 9 for science, 1 for social studies, 3 for language arts, and 1 for writing. So pictograph shows data using symbols or pictures. And the most important thing that you have to do with a pictograph is look at the key. The next one that you've done before is a bar graph, and my numbers on the side kind of got cut off a little bit, but so a bar graph organizes data using bars. So here I have my same data. I gave myself a scale of, I believe my scale was 2, like I said, or my scale's 1. It got cut off a little bit, but my scale's 1. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And the way you make a bar graph is you just fill the bar all the way up to the number that you collected your data with. Now, the thing that I'm missing on this bar graph is labels. It's super important that when you see a bar graph, you label the bar graph. And I didn't mention that on the pictograph. When you see it somewhere, you should label it to the side. In the bar graph, you just write your labels above each bar. The new one to 3rd grade is a dot plot. Now, a dot plot, guys, is kind of like a pictograph, but instead of using pictures, it just uses dots. Okay, so the dots could also mean something. So in this example, I gave you a key. You have to look at the key, and I made each dot equal 2 votes. Okay, so if you remember, my math data was 6, but here I only have 3 dots. Why is that? Because I'm counting by 2s. 2, 4, 6. Now, when I got to science, if you remember, we'll go back to our chart. When I did my science survey, I got 9, which is an odd number. So if I'm counting by 2s, I know 2s goes with even numbers. how can I show an odd number like a 9? There's an answer for that. If you see my science here, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, and half of a whole circle equals 1, so that's 9. Okay, social studies, I only had 1 vote, so I just drew a half circle. Language arts, I had 3 votes, so I drew 2, 3, so a whole and a half. And then for writing, I had 1 vote, so I just drew a half. Okay, so all of these different types of graphs show you the same information just in 4 different ways. Okay, so some key vocabulary from this lesson. Data. Data is something that you gather that tells you information. Pictograph. A pictograph is a graph made from symbols or pictures. A key. Key, not like a door key. A key tells you how much a symbol is worth. Frequency table is a chart using tallies and a frequency or a total. Frequency means how often something happens. We've got a bar graph, which organizes data using bars, and a dot plot, which shows how often something happens using dots. And I forgot to mention something. On a dot plot, you can also see X's instead of dots. So those are our 4 graphs in 3rd grade.